Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to be attempting to answer the age-old question that every JDM buff has asked. What is a better car, the Mark IV Supra or Godzilla herself? Here we have a beautiful Bayside blue R32 GT-R owned by Michael. He was going to be gracious enough to let us test drive it and compare the two cars. So first question is,
sure,
why the R32 GT-R?
For me, the R32 is always like my dream car. Ever since I played Gran Turismo back on the PlayStation, I first drove a GT-R in that game. I was like, oh, this car is amazing. Learned about it, found out they were Japan only. So you're like, oh, you'll never get to bring them over here. And it was just kind of a passion car for a long time until I learned about the 25-year rule that you could bring them over. And from that point on, as soon as I learned that, I did everything in my power to get one over here. Got this one, painted it, got it legal, and I drive it at least once a week, if not once a day now.
Now, you're actually one of the rare people who got your GT-R California compliant. Correct. Did you buy it that way, or did you have to go through the whole process?
I had to go through the whole process. I imported it just as was from Tokyo with a company up north. And then they shipped it down to me. They painted it Bayside blue for me. And then I took care of all the demodding under the hood, sent it to the shop to have the exhaust work done and get the whole $10,000 mod required for the state of California, which does cover the actual legalization flow, getting all the paperwork, getting the state to look at it. So it's expensive, but worth it. But yeah, it ended up getting me the plates, and now I can drive it just wherever I want. So
awesome. So thinking back to when you first picked up the GT-R, what was the weirdest part about right-hand drive? What did you have to get used to the most?
Hardest part for me was getting used to right-hand drive. A lot of people always said it would be like the shifting would be weird. That wasn't very odd for me. I was able to get used to that from playing arcade games and stuff where it was already set up. For me, the weirdest part is making a blind left-hand turn at an intersection. If a car is facing you and you need to turn left, you just aren't going to be able to do it. You got to wait for traffic because you can't see if the traffic's coming. A lot of times I just do what the UPS drivers do and make 3 rights to make a left if I know where it's coming. But sometimes you just accidentally end up in a spot where you're like, oh, well, I guess this is my life now, and you just wait for the traffic to clear up. You always feel bad if there's someone behind you, but you kind of learn to deal with that. So.
Yeah, I remember that back when I had my GT-R. That was always the scariest thing, is making those left-hand turns, especially if you have a truck in front of you, because you definitely cannot see past them.
You just throw the e-brake on, just let it sit. Also, shifting from using miles per hour to kilometers per hour. That's a tricky thing as well, since it doesn't have the miles per hour hashes in it. So you have to learn to do those conversions real fast in your head. Yeah,
I remember doing that. Like, I had like this math equation I do in my head. So it's like if I was doing like 70, you divide it in half and add 10%. So if you're doing 70 kilometers per hour, half of that is 35 plus 7, 42. So, you know, you're doing 70, you're doing 42.
Exactly. Or just you're in LA, follow the traffic, because it's always around. So
you're lucky if you can do more than 25 miles an hour.
Precisely. Yeah. Half the time I don't even know how fast I'm going. I'm just like, I'm going as fast as that truck over there, so I should be good.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and hit the road. I'm going to go ahead and start with driving the GT-R because I just drove the Supra, and I'll give my opinion. Then Michael will go ahead and drive back, and he'll talk about his experiences. Then we're going to swap over the Supra. I'm going to let Michael drive first, and then he'll be able to tell about the difference between driving his GT-R and the Supra, and hopefully we'll answer that question. What's the better car?
Perfect.
All right. So yeah, here I am back in a GT-R. This is already bringing back memories. You know, the 3 gauges down here on the dash, everything all just kind of flip-flopped here. I definitely remember these are my favorite seats of any car I've ever owned. These stock seats are just phenomenal. I would never swipe them out. In fact, I'd almost even put these in the Supra if I could. These are better than the Sparcos.
Oh yeah, nothing beats these seats. I'm working on a racing rig at home, and I want to get one of these just for that, just because it's so comfortable.
Oh, these are great. I mean, I would be kind of curious to see the R34 seats, you know, because they have those race.
That would be good. Look. Yeah. Next time I go to Japan, I want to try to rent an R34 just to drive around a little bit, just to have the experience.
So for those of you who don't know, also, getting used to the GT-R is a little bit easier because the pedals are still the same. Your right foot's still the gas, left foot's still the clutch. Shift pattern is the same, so over and up is first. So it's just like someone literally just pulled the steering wheel and the wheel, then the pedals, and just stuck them on this side. If you haven't seen my video where I talked about my GT-R, it was actually the first video I've ever did, so it's not the best, but if you do want to watch it, I'll post a link up here. You can check it out if you want. You know what, the visibility out of this is way better than the Supra.
Really?
I can see out of this car way better than I can with the Supra already. So one of the things that helps when I drove this to keep me from drifting in the lane is I mentally tell myself every so often I'm sitting in the passenger side. Otherwise you find yourself kind of drifting to the left because that's where you used to be in the lane.
For me, my driving pattern to stay in lane proper is actually using the lines on the road when available. I know on this side, I keep the line right aligned to this part of the dash. On that side, the same.
Okay. And then after, you know, about a week or so, you get used to it and you're...
Yeah, you just go, all right, I'm good with this now.
Now, I also remember one of the things that took me a while to get used to was looking for the rear view mirror.
Yep.
A lot of the times, like, I'll look to the right and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, it's over there.
Which is funny, I mentioned that in one of my videos. Yeah, looking for this is difficult for me, but the side view mirrors I have no problem with. Yeah. Like when I want to look behind me, I'll look at those, no problem, and then I'll look out the window for the rear view mirror. It's like, why? Why is it so backwards?
And have you ever, like, backing up, or you initially turn this way, like, oh, whoops.
Yep, done that several times. When I would first get in the car, when I first got it, I kept reaching over my left shoulder for the seatbelt. The one thing I know a lot of people have had issues with, not with GTRs, but with right-hand drive in general, a lot of times they'll go to turn their blinker on, and they'll hit the windshield wipers. Yes. But this car doesn't have a windshield wiper stock, it's on the dashboard. So I don't do it in this car. I instead do it in my daily that I've been driving for several years, because I go, oh, well, there's a stock on this side, and I know that's the blinker, and it's not. So I've turned my windshield wiper on my Lancer hundreds of times since getting this car.
Now, I gotta admit, the pedal is not... The gas pedal sits far enough back that it's not very convenient to heel-toe shift this car.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a surprise.
If you weren't really wanting to track one of these, you'd have to do a lot of work down there to, I think, adjust things to make it a bit more performant-oriented. For what I do, the canyon driving and such, it works good enough for here. The only time this car's ever left me stranded was when I had a coolant line, actually, right up here is where it happened. The coolant line between the engine block and the firewall just blew. So I had to tow it to a shop and get all that worked on, but it was convenient. I got a chance to look at the oil pressure sender, the oil feed lines, the turbos, the coolant lines. I just had them do a whole inspection, got it all up to snuff. That was a year ago and it's still running good, so.
It's definitely a nice predictable power band. You know what, I've got to admit, I forgot how well this sucker handles a corner.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't for the fact that we have this Jeep that cut us off at the stoplight because they refuse to be behind anybody and keeping us going slower. I'm sure I'd be having a little bit more fun with this.
Don't you know they own this road? Yeah. This is their road.
But yeah, I forgot. I mean, this sucker does. I mean, it handles corners just so effortlessly. You know, I think the reason why I didn't like my R32 when I had it as much as I did is because I was so early on in the adopters.
Oh yeah.
That anytime anything went wrong, it was really a big ordeal to get it taken care of because I had to have the parts either brought in from Canada or Japan.
Yep.
And it took forever.
Yeah, I mean, the car's been around for a while now, so there's a lot of parts accessible in the US. But even then, yeah, a lot of times, like with the hoses, for example, something as simple as engine hoses, my options were either to import a set factory from Japan, which they've got that heritage program now, so parts are being remanufactured, or I could spend a little more money and get a high performance set for like someone building up a racing engine.
You know what, I hate to say it, I think I'm falling in love with the Skyline again.
As you should.
I hate to say it because, like I said, when I had mine, like by the time I sold it, I was so annoyed with it and I was just so over it. And I think part of that was because of, like I said, I was just such an early adopter. It's kind of my fault.
Then I want that car. Then
the old Supra?
Yeah. It's parked here all the time.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's like, I would just love to have it. It'd be a fun little thing to have.
All right, well, let's go ahead and swap drivers.
Absolutely.
And we can continue. He's got to readjust the steering wheel.
All right.
Oh, you know what? I never ridden the passenger side of my Skyline. This is my first time in the passenger seat.
Oh, yeah?
So, but no, I really just want a steering wheel so I can wave at people with the steering wheel.
But you know, that was the first time I'd ridden in that side of this car. When I first bought this, there's a guy in town who had gotten his car California legal.
It was always really fun too, and I rode with Yana. She'd be sitting here and just like playing on her phone, not thinking about it. And she'd look up, and just the look on people's faces.
Like, what the hell?
Pay attention to the road.
So we driving this thing, and you drove yours, I'm sure you saw it too. You get like one of three reactions. You get people that just don't even notice. You get people that know what it is and freak out. Or people that don't know what it is, but notice that you're on the wrong side of the car and freak out. And usually those people, like, I'll roll the window down or something, or my window's almost always down anyhow, and they'll pull up next to you and they'll be like, is that car from England?
That's the one that always annoyed me. And I would mess with those people. So I'd get the same responses. Mine were usually in a parking lot. And I'd get the, holy, is that a Skyline?
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, I know what I'm talking about. And then I would get the, your steering wheel's on the wrong side. And I'd look at them, and because I get this so often, I'd be like, yeah, it helps with my dyslexia.
I always just told them, well, technically it's on the right side.
Yeah, there we go. You know what's funny is I found out why we sit on this side and why England and the other countries sit on the other side. So in America, so originally it goes back to when knights would joust. So most of them were right-handed, so they'd want to be on that side, so their roads were set up that way before they got cars. And that's why they have their steering wheel on that side. In America, the reason why we have the steering wheel on this side was Ford figured out that his engine span one way, and by putting the driver on this side, it counterbalanced the rotation of the engine. And that's why we sit on the other side.
Interesting. Speaking of engines, this is my favorite engine of all time.
Is it really?
Yes.
Because I actually, and now granted, I had to deal with the issues that are inherent with the RB. So it is a short throw cylinder. But I had that issue that I was always scared of, like with the rotary engine where you're worried about the apex seal. With the RB, you're always worried about the oil pump.
Yep. And unfortunately, this one is from the era where the oil pump is bad. So I'm always watching my oil pressure.
So for those of you who don't know, the stock oil pump on the RB26, the cogs have a bit of a clearance. So if you start bouncing off the rev limiter or going too high, they kind of hit each other and the sprocket will break. And you don't know because the oil pump's partially into the oil pan, so the oil leaks back into the pan, and you don't know that you have oil starvation until your engine seizes on you. It's just a paranoia we all have. All right, so here we are back at the parking lot. We're gonna go ahead and switch cars, and Michael's gonna get a chance to drive the Mark IV Supra.
I'm so excited. Let's get some AC going in here.
Yes.
So the answer is this car is better. Right now, this car is better. All right, let's see how yours feels. I like that sound. I almost turned your windshield wipers on. I'm not gonna lie, straight up. So I had a heavy clutch. You got a heavy steering.
Yes.
I like it though, but I'm surprised by how heavy it is.
One thing I do love about this car though is like where they put like the armrests. It's just like,
oh yeah, no, this is comfortable. Actually, my favorite thing about this car is the steering,
the dash area.
The dash area, yeah. The cockpit. Everything is so driver oriented. Like
I almost can't even see the dials for the AC because they're just pointed right at you.
Right. And it's like, all right, cool.
So how does it feel compared to driving the GT-R?
It feels a lot more compact, like in the driving situation. Yeah, I feel a little more enclosed. Not a bad thing. I like it. Yeah. But I don't know. You're talking about how good it took corners. Yours feels like it's lane shifting. We'll always find out up here in the corners. But lane shifting, it's nimble. I like it.
I think the issue I ran into, because we just did the Sand Canyon run. If you guys haven't seen that video, if you want, I'll post a link. And you and the FD, I was having problems keeping up with. But I think the majority of the problem with that is I'm still on stock rims. So I've only got, I think it's 8.5 inch wide. And I'm on Hankook Ventus V2s, which they're okay tires, but they're not the greatest tires. So cornering wise, I mean, how does this compare to? Oh, they're barking. Yeah. See, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. It's not the best tires.
Wrong stock. I'm not gonna lie, I've never had that much trouble not using the blinkers.
It's because it's a Supra. Your brain's trying to.
Yeah, I'm just focusing on everything else.
Oh, you're trying to move the seat?
I'm trying to see if I can recline it back just a little bit.
To recline it, I think you have to use there's a wheel.
Oh, wheel right here. No.
I think more people know with this car is than the GT-R though, because of the Fast and Furious movies.
True, and to be fair, but if you put these two side by side, yeah. We both went by that thing at about 60 plus miles an hour. Beautiful.
Like I said, mine though, I'm hitting boost cut because of I need to reprogram mine.
Yeah. If you put this car next to the GT-R, like in the parking lot, you just look at the two of them, to an average person, this I think looks more like a sports car.
Yes.
And the GT-R looks like a sports car, but it doesn't look as sports oriented. And I think that's heavily due to the wing. That curved wing on the back of yours.
Well, this one also, when you look at the GT-R, it's more sharp and angular, looks more like a family sedan. This one's much more rounded, a little bit more, it looks like it's more purpose-driven.
And it sits lower,
Very
which
much.
gives it a much more performant look. So I can get that, people seeing this and going, oh, look at that sports car, or look at that, looks like a super nice sports car, whereas mine just kind of like, if you know what it is, awesome. If you don't, yeah, you'll totally miss it, which is fair.
Yeah, it seems to be cutting me at about 8 PSI.
That scares me every time I hear it, because it makes me think of mine where the gear grinds a little bit. Like, oh, the transmission's about to go.
Oh yeah, these Gtr, they just don't break.
Man, this thing handles well through the turns. I like it. It's funny. It's been a long time since I've driven rear-wheel drive.
But the GT-R is a rear-wheel drive car. It's just it can
for the most part, it transfers when you go. But that means when you're taking the corners, if it needs to use the front, it will. So you can kind of feel that transfer. So on this one, like taking the corners, I can tell the difference between where the GT-R would start using front-wheel drive a little bit, or the all-wheel drive, whereas this one is just rear-wheel drive. But it feels really planted. I think it's because you got it lower to the ground. It helps a lot.
Yeah, this car has been lowered about an inch.
Actually, yeah, you can definitely feel the performance grant to that. And I'd like to lower my car a little bit, but to be fair, there's a couple of drives I go over that I'd hate to lower because I don't know if I could clear some of those curbs anymore. I still really love the interior of this, like the material here and such.
Yeah, the interior on this is definitely one of the selling points for me. Kind of like with the FD too. I love these wraparound dashes.
Yes. Yeah, the FD has a similar setup.
And the amazing thing is it doesn't look dated. I mean, so you get some of these cars and you see some of these dashes. Like, I hate to say it, the GT-R to me, the interior
it screams early mid-90s, yeah.
Actually, to me, it even screams a little 80s because it's very blocky. There's a lot of squares. If you think about it, everything's divided into squares.
I'll say where you're at with that.
There went a C8 Corvette.
Was that?
Yeah, that was a C8 Corvette.
I legit thought it was a Ferrari. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, the red and those the wings on the side.
It wasn't until I saw the side, where the door handles are, that it registered with me that it was a C8. Yeah, this definitely has less visibility than your GT-R.
I noticed that. I noticed your wing got in my way a couple times. Not often, but I really like this. I've been looking for a second car, something that I can play around with a bit more than I can the GT-R.
There's definitely a bigger aftermarket third-party reference for this, and Toyota's doing the Heritage program too.
And just California lets you do stuff with it, more so than you can with the GT-R.
I don't know about that because it is still carb. I mean, the only difference
the difference is parts have been tested and authorized for this with the state of California, 50 part authorized. Parts haven't been with the GT-R.
Okay.
So like what you can do with the GT-R is much more restricted.
And that is one thing I'll definitely take some pictures and show, but the engine bay with the Supra, it's so open, it's so easy to do whatever work you want to on the car, whereas the GT-R's engine bay is just so tight, like you almost can't get anything in there.
I think that's a trademark of Nissan.
Is it really? Yeah,
because they don't, no Nissan is easy to work on under the engine.
All right, so there we go. We've both driven the Mark IV Supra and Godzilla. So on your opinion, what are the strengths of the GT-R over the Supra, and what are some of the strengths of the Supra over the GT-R?
Oh man, that's tough because they're both really, really good, fun cars. For me, I mean, I wouldn't really say it's a strength, but being on the right-hand side of the car for me is always going to be a novelty that is just hard to beat. And I feel like the takeoff performance of this one, I felt, for me, was a bit smoother, taking off from the line. Yeah. Possibly because I just know this car better versus yours, so you have to get used to them.
I think it's because you're also on the twins too, so you don't have the lag.
Exactly.
Like you have a more predictable car band.
It felt more getting off there. Of course, some people change that, but I mean, the general feel, taking the corners a little smoother in this one. I felt it. You can feel when the all-wheel drive kicks in, and it's like gripping around the corners and such. But then again, on that one, this thing, I feel this gives you a more visceral feel of the power. Like when this one you get on it, you feel like you're getting on it. And it's just, I hate to say it, but aside from the seats, because I think this is a more comfortable seat.
Love those seats.
I think that's a more comfortable cockpit. Like that one, actually, I like how everything is right there for you, everything's smooth. Whereas this one here, everything feels kind of far away. I mean, I sit far back, but it feels kind of far away. And the, like all the information is kind of spread out.
Okay.
Like if you want your oil pressure, okay, that's over here, but if you want the oil temperature, that's over here. And they're all kind of hidden and shouted and stuff. So this one doesn't give the driver as much information as readily available as I feel your car does. So it makes that one feel more purpose to what I'm doing. So I think between the two, that would be my biggest pull for that one is inside, that one feels a lot more comfortable. If it was on the other side, it'd be better. This one would be nice to see, but you can definitely feel the twin turbos and the all-wheel drive system of this get you to speed faster and handle the corners. So
okay, so if you're going to have one as a daily driver and one as a track car, which one would you pick for each? You can pick the same for each if you want, or whichever.
For, that's a tough question. For a track car, I would take this, absolutely. Again, just like the performance going around the corners, and that's taking them as they sit currently, obviously. You can do a lot to these things and go to the moon with them.
I mean, let's be honest, when it comes to that, you're like, really, it's just who put the most money into their car.
Exactly. So for this one, as they say, I would probably take this one, not worrying about the insurance or anything. But for a daily, I would take yours because A, it's easier to drive being on the correct side of the car for the States, and you have AC, which is just a great thing to have. And you get 6th gear, which people don't realize how important 6th gear can be. I mean, we didn't really use it a whole lot in the test drive, but when you're cruising down the interstate and you're just kind of going, being able to drop into 6, lower those RPM, save a little fuel, and just cruise. This thing, you're going down the interstate on this, you're sitting at, like I said, 3,000, 4,000 RPM. It's just, you hear like, let's go. It's like, calm down, calm down. So for me, yeah, I would daily that, take this one out on the weekends.
That makes perfect sense. Especially because this one, I mean, it can corner, but let's be honest, this is really more of a straight stretch beast. I mean, it's you can get those massive horsepower. I've always been trying to prove that, you know, this is not just a straight stretch car. You can corner it, but you're always going to be at a downside to kind of the smaller, lighter cars like the FDs and the R32s. I was really surprised because, like I said, by the time I sold my GT-R, I was just kind of over it. I had leaks on the gaskets, you know, getting parts, making those left-hand turns at lights. I was just kind of burnt out. I was done. Driving yours today, I was really surprised that it really kind of brought me back to the Skyline. I really did enjoy driving it today. I was really, really shocked by that. As I was saying, I was driving around the corners, I'm like, yeah, I mean, it corners so much better than this. And you even said you're on stock suspension where I've got the Tayans. We're both running not the best tires, so I think we got a good sample of what the suspension will do and how it'll handle. And I really am more of a canyon type guy. So in that, you know, I really did enjoy the GT-R today. I do love my Supra. I think you're right, as a daily driver, this is probably a better way to go as a daily driver. It's a little more comfortable.
And you mentioned, like when you had this, you had the leaks and stuff. Parts are still tricky with this when it comes to issues, so not as hard as they probably were then, but they are still, you know, something you have to worry about. So if this thing breaks, it's going to be a lot more of a headache than if that thing breaks. So I wouldn't want to be dailying this and have the engine constantly having issues, because this is an 89, it's a 30-plus-year-old car.
So yeah, I definitely say, you know, with this one as a daily driver, I mean, you can still take it on the canyons, you can still have fun. It's still an enjoyable drive, but like if you really want to kind of be a little bit more competitive on the canyons and really kind of take it to the limit, you've got to swap over to the Skyline. So for all of you watching, I hope that answers your question a little bit. I think we both agree, given the fact that we've both driven both, so we have firsthand experience. If you want to have a car as a daily driver, or if you want to have just a major monster of a car for a straight stretch, mine is not tuned to like 800 horsepower yet. The Supra's the way to go. I've got to be honest, as a side thing, I do think the Supra's a better looking car, just from a parking spot point of view.
Between the two, I have to disagree. I think this is a much better looking car, but I do stand by what we said, where if this was a full parking lot and we were just walking out here, I would see that before I saw this. So if you want something that catches an eye, that's the one to have.
Exactly. And I do think that if you're looking for something that weekend warrior, where you don't have to worry about those left-hand turns as often, I think the GT-R is a great way to go. Like I said, I'm over it. I'm actually, because of today, I'm back in love with the car. I didn't think that was gonna happen, I'm gonna be honest. I thought I was gonna be driving the car going, yeah, I remember this is kind of fun, but I still love my Supra. My Supra's better in every way, shape, or form. Today, you actually changed my mind. You put me back in the Skyline crowd, which is kind of cool. I hope you all enjoyed the video for today. I hope you stuck around to the end. If you liked the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all out on the road.